Straight in, this video is a quick review of the Whitehills Backwards Bungalow. I've set it up again in my garden and taken a bit of time out for a coffee, but while I'm outside again, here's my thoughts about it. Hi, I'm Warren Brand and welcome to another Linleys video. Whitehills promote this unit as a one-person backpacking ultra-light tent, good for 3 seasons. I'll debate that claim in a little while, but just for now, let's see how to pop it up. A suitable space needs to be just under 7 foot or 2 meters and 10 centimeters long by about 4 foot wide or 1 meter 20 centimeters. The useful space inside is slightly less than that, but it's very spacious for just one person. For the first time used, all the guy lines need tying on. Don't do what I did the first time I went out to use it and end up doing this in the dark. Silly idea. The first lines to be added should be the ones to the top apex corners. To each tie point, 2 lines are needed to be attached. My style is to use a bowline knot with both lines as part of the same knot and leaving a 3 centimeter loop. This loop will be useful when the poles are inserted, as you'll see in a moment. Out of the bag, it's best to first locate the 2 top peak corners and lift them to the top of the bundle. Spot which face has the zips and put that to the side away from the wind. Lay out flat the ground sheet rectangle with the 4 corners identified and pulled out of the bundle, ready for pegging down. Peg out the 4 corners of the base, adjust the tension and position as the ground conditions best suit. The best occasion when I used my bungalow was the time out with Dan of Camp Life Bushcraft, when we did a woodland camp together. We both have a bungalow and just for effect and to maximise the efficiency of the camp layout, we positioned our tents face to face. We had a small campfire in between and hooked up our front awnings to form a pitched roof, almost joining between and over the fire. All in, with the bag, the tent fabric all together as one piece, the pegs and the guy lines, it weighs just under 1.5 kilograms. The only extras needed for the erection of this shelter are the 2 trekking poles, not included. Lifting up the shape of the tent is now easy with the use of the trekking poles preset to the right length. I set mine to 45 inches or 1 meter 15 centimeters from the snow cup, which I usually leave on, to the top of the handle where your thumb would be when you're using it for walking. If you tie your guy lines differently, then maybe your pole length needs to be slightly different. Poke the tip of the pole through the guy line loop and wedge it into the eyelet on the webbing. This double attachment seems a good idea and I found the pole is kept in place with no issues. Push up the top, tuck in the bottom and then hold out the top apex with the guy lines. Easy. The first 2 lines I just peg into the ground, but don't pull too tight at this time. These tents won't be great in any kind of strong wind, but I suggest it's best to pitch it with its back into the wind, although with its large flat surface it'll flap around rather a lot. Round to the other end, just the same. Poke in, push up, tuck in, and then pull out the apex with the guy lines. I don't think I would rely on this type of tent in any kind of poor weather. As a base camp tent in woodland or around a campsite, I'm sure it would provide enough comfort. But in any kind of altitude or wind, I think the wide panels and the tall structure would just not cope well at all. For 3-season conditions, I'd go for a stronger tent, but that's my opinion, of course. Adjust each guy line so that the ridge is quite taut and the back panel is fairly flat, nice and even. Out the front, from each front corner, there are little windbreakers and these need pegging out. This adds tension to the front of the tent as well. Around the back, another couple of pegs are needed to pull out the rain chute flap. This both sheds rain away from the ground sheet area and also provides ventilation via the back mesh panel to the inside of the tent. I didn't leave enough room here in my garden this time for a peg, but the tent has a pull-out line to tug the back wall out a little, useful to help stiffen the back wall if there's any wind. Opening up is easy. The whole front wall can be unzipped and rolled up to form a large front opening. My trick to keep the roll tidy is to tuck in the sides a bit before beginning the roll to the top. The standard toggle and elastic loops are easy to fasten in idea, but fiddly to do in practice, especially with gloves on. The inner mesh wall can be opened similarly with the zips. It is a single skin tent. The outer is waterproof to 3 meters hydroscopic pressure according to the manufacturer. I can't account for that, of course, but with just a single skin, there's a higher risk of condensation affecting the inside use. The space inside is large enough to avoid brushing up against the material, and I've not had any real problems with condensation as I've kept the vents open at the back as much as possible. There's ample room to sit up in the doorway. I'm average height and I can sit here even with my hat on. There's loads of space for one person, and I think even enough for a couple to share. The vestibule space is not big enough for large rucksacks, but more than adequate for basic gear, cooking sets and boots. The mesh wall doesn't give any kind of privacy, but does keep the flies out in the summer. In poor weather, I've used another pole or woodland stick to prop up the front awning as a roof, useful added shelter for the open door and whilst cooking. A two-pole arrangement would leave the middle of the panel to sag a bit, but one pole and the rest pulled back to form a triangle works well for me. Dan and I left our roofs pitched up like this all night, and that worked really well with our face-to-face arrangement. So, coffee enjoyed with a shortbread biscuit. Now it's time to pack away. Cole of Outdoor Gear Essentials was very helpful in promptly shipping the bungalow to me for a very good price, just in time for my camp out with Dan. I highly recommend checking out Cole's website, as he offers a useful supply of camping and associated gear at reasonable prices. If you have time, please take a look at another one of my videos. The link cards at the end suggest some options for you. Also, how about clicking the like button or adding a comment? Thanks for watching and bye for now.